Hey SUBFURYs! This video is a little bit rushed because I am a little bit rushed. The Office of Mishka has been working overtime, and if it feels like I was really stressed like not too long ago, that would be because that is entirely true. Partially because I am a very stress and worry prone person in general, and partly because I have my end of year law exams approaching. So if I boil over, collapse in tears, or hyperventilate during this video, just know that it's just because I'm having a healthy dose of studentitis. You shouldn't worry, everyone gets it. All it requires is a good shot of caffeine and lack of sleep.
What do you mean my eyes look dark?
Do my eyes look dark, Mishka? Mishka says no. All hail Mishka. But our dragon biology class today will be on the deadly Nadder, one of the most common tracker class dragons, despite having a number of features that would suggest it should be in the sharp class. Most importantly, their spines. Preferred as their main weapon, deadly Nadders shoot these spines with incredible accuracy. We saw that Stormfly was capable of shooting one spike into a wall and then shooting another one to split that in half. They're essentially snipers with tails. But how do the Nadders do this exactly? Now, a number of animals have spines or quills in our world. Think the echidna, the porcupine, tenrecs, and hedgehogs. And they all use them variously in defense and attack. A hedgehog will roll up into a bowl to be an unappetizing meal, and a porcupine will literally back into its enemies with its spikes. If either of their predators aren't too careful, they'll end up with a mouthful of blood and pain. But in understanding how the Nadder shoots its spikes, they are more like porcupines than hedgehogs. Let me tell you why. Porcupines can detach their quills and leave them embedded in their predator at will, while a hedgehog cannot. Now, the Nadders can clearly detach their spikes at will, so the question is, are there any similarities between how the porcupine might do this and how the deadly Nadder might do this? Truth be told, the answer isn't particularly scientific or complex. The reality is that the porcupine's quills are just embedded in the porcupine's skin relatively loosely. In other words, it doesn't take much at all for them to get pulled out of the porcupine's skin and left in their predator's face. Another way that the Nadders are more similar to porcupines is that the spikes that they have only really cover the back end of the animal, their tail, or in the porcupine, the back half of their whole body. And as we see all throughout the shows and the movies, it's used oftentimes as a weapon a lot more than a defense mechanism, which is what hedgehogs use theirs for. But there's more to it than that when it comes to theorizing how the spikes or the quills of a deadly Nadder, which I actually suggest would probably be a better term for the spikes on a deadly Nadder. I think we should call them quills.
And you can tell when I ad-lib stuff on the spot, right?
This is a really good apple. When you look at a Nadder's tail, it's clearly layered with spikes, but the quills themselves aren't actually very deeply embedded or attached to the tail. No wonder they fly off at a moment's notice. We saw in the episode Blue Oleander that all it took was a sneeze for Stormfly to start shooting these spikes places. So they clearly aren't deeply rooted in the Nadder's tail. Now, it's a common myth that porcupines can shoot their spikes, similar to how we see the Nadders do them very often, but frankly, this is a myth. But as we've talked about before, a porcupine can dislodge and detach those quills from their back into their predator's face. And how they do this is really quite simple. They just have to shake up a little bit and they loosen off and get stuck there. And this is somewhat materially similar to how we see a Nadder fire their spikes. There's a reason that the Nadder always barbs up its tail before it fires. When the quills are folded down on the Nadder's tail, the layers of the tail and the muscles that are wrapped around the very tip of the spike create enough pressure to keep it there. But how does the Nadder fire? Well, it's simple really, because the Nadder can't just fire at will from its tail, not like, you know, a gun or anything like that. That would require some serious gas buildup that we've not seen a Nadder ever have. No, it really just comes down to movement of the body. Like the porcupine just has to shake it up a little bit to dislodge its spikes in its predator's face. The tail swing of the deadly Nadder is enough to loose the spikes at its enemy. But as we've discussed, it only looses the ones that are barbed up because they are the only ones that are loosely attached enough to actually detach. But that's all from me, SUBFURYs, and that is all from me for a while. Now, I've been debating this for a little bit because I've been making videos, you know, every single week, 2 to 3 times for the last 6 months, and it's been incredible, and don't worry, I'm coming back absolutely very, very quickly. But as I said before, I have my exams coming up, and I thought I could handle it, but I do need to take just a short break from videos, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks to make more. My exams were getting on top of me, and I really need to get on top of them. What I can promise you is that when I come back, number one, t-shirts. What if I told you that the winning t-shirt design, because I've actually already got one, is sitting on my bed. In fact, here I am holding it in my hand, be jealous. So we will be talking all about that. That will be being made available to you guys so we can support stopping slavery and saving the environment and animals. It's gonna be fantastic. I love all of you. Second of all, I can promise you more in-depth theory, and third of all, I can promise you more nerdiness, because the overall arc of my life is just me getting slowly more immersed in fictional worlds that matter to me and nobody else. Anyways, wish me luck. I'm gonna try my best, and then I'll be back and making more videos for you guys. But in the meantime, you know, I really love for you to come join other SUBFURYs. Follow me on Twitter, Wattpad, Facebook. You're more likely to kind of get in contact with me on those kind of platforms over this little break. Don't forget Mishka. Remember to obviously salute him every time you get out of bed. Caw to you guys. And in the meantime, and of course I'd love for you to send me stuff you've made at the address and links in the description below. And for my last time before I take my break, stay nerdy, SUBFURYs, and I'll see you in the future.